Okay, so this is Sheila with Conscious Conversation Central, and it is still Friday evening, April the 27th, 2018. And I'm back with my gal pals again, Lisa Flamino Rush and BZ Rieger. And so we're going to talk about focusing on the outcome.
The outcome.
The big capital, bold, flashing, screaming, honking, the outcome.
Honking.
I'm sorry.
Not just strobing. For Diane.
Planes can see it from space. I don't know. I'm just saying. Okay, so yes, and we might be feeling a little nutty tonight, but that's okay. We can. But yes, focusing on the outcome. I love what you said too, because we already have our title. As you expand, all changes, and I am seeing I'm seeing that even in tiny little ways, but you have to, it's almost as subtle as a lot of other things. And I'm not exactly the most subtle. I don't pick up on all that kind of subtle stuff, but there are still, it's some subtle ways for me, but I can see where things change as I expand.
Mm-hmm. All of them do, yeah.
Well, and since we are part of the all, then it all expands and changes with each one of us. That expands. And so focusing on the outcome of what we want to see go down, specifically for me, specifically right now, in light of our last conversation, you know, everything that's been going on this planet, and quite frankly, universally, it's time for all of that. The hashtag universal cleanup. What does that look like? That's an outcome to focus on, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and beyond that, and what was the let's see if I did this right. What was your term you used a minute ago? This isn't
the big honking outcome.
Yeah, I was trying to do a thing here just because I feel like playing, but let's see if we can get it.
All right.
Anyways, maybe it'll come up. My computer is running at Flintstones backwards speed right this moment.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay.
Of course.
Yeah. So, and we play with this a little bit. To me, it's once people play with it, get it, see it, right? And you just mentioned seeing it yourself, Sheila. I know Lisa sees it all the time. So if you have a time when you're tired and you're sleeping a lot, so you're integrating and you're making changes, you are completely different after those moments of that change and expansion. You're completely different. And you'll notice it in different ways. You may or may not notice it. You know, I think you have to keep putting the pillow over your head if you're not noticing it. And when energy frequencies come in, when you let go of something, when you stop dancing with smarmy, well, there's all sorts of different ways. That some that you might in linear way phrase is negative you've let go of, or positive you've turned on the light more, whatever it is.
Right.
So each individual being, as they go through all these different things, they change. And as they change, their frequency changes. And as their frequency changes, the frequency neighborhood vibration that they're in changes. And since we're all transmitters, we then transmit a new frequencies on a broader bandwidth wherever we go. We can do it intentionally, consciously, with a focus, or we can just do it because that's how we be, right? So you change everything because you're the individual sovereign singularity that is Sheila or Lisa or BZ or Keegan or whatever it is. And you also are one, all connected. Mm-hmm. So you could language it as through the morphogenetic field, you actually change everything. So if we're focusing on the outcome and people say, well, are we there yet? Why is this happening so slow? And you look in your own backyard. So your frequency, energetic, vibrational backyard. And that's the quickest way to speed things up, come to whatever the outcome. So there's lots of different ways to phrase it. And I just been being nudged over the last several days to play with this. And now I've got it on my list to do an individual one in the quantum playground that I was going to do. But to come for the three of us to play with too, it feels like an awful lot of people haven't felt into this yet, haven't really noticed or connected with that truth of energy frequency, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yes, I feel that too. Now I see some. I don't know. I'm feeling some movement, but not in the areas I expected to see. I'm seeing more recently amongst the folks that haven't been paying attention at all of anything. Either that or it's just source speaking through them in whatever way that I'm seeing and feeling. And so, but I hear what you're saying too. There's not a lot of I don't know. I'm thinking about the outcome all the time. And
are you seeing it? Are you feeling it?
I'm seeing it. I'm feeling it. I have,
because your present, your quote unquote future self. And remember, we're multidimensional and we're quantum, and there is no such thing. But if you want to linearly phrase it that way, is already there at the dance, so you could hang out with them at the dance floor, on the dance party, the after party. You can, all sorts of places, and you can connect with them that way. You can get a message, ask for a message from yourself to yourself from that self.
I didn't think about that. Oh, I like that idea. I will do that. I don't know why I didn't think about that.
Yeah, that's my personal thing too. I like to think of it as, well, I don't know who said it. Somebody said, begin with the end in sight. And I remember hearing that in my 20s and thinking, yeah, you have to know where you're going, first of all. So you do need to start with that. And so I feel like the correction, whatever this expansion is that happens now, has already happened. And on a scalar level, the biggest part of me is already dancing with the brand new. And it's sort of just a memory, this other thing. So I try to connect with the part of me that is already experienced the great new thing, and then I try to align with, well, what was I doing during the transition? So when I find myself feeling impatient, which is a lot, I'm not going to lie, I'm getting better at it, because in the beginning I was battling it just like every moment. Not so much anymore, because I'm realizing that this is an exciting part too.
Yeah.
And that I'm feeling all of the transitions. Like, we had that thing done with the atlas. And so I've really tried to just be present with my body and feel what it's feeling, and try to sense what's happening just internally within myself. And from that practice, I have found that it's always after, or even simultaneously sometimes, I will notice that when I realize or recognize the big shifts that I'm making internally and go, wow, I think even 2 weeks ago, I couldn't have said that about myself, or I wouldn't have said that and felt good, or I don't know, I'm just noticing, just how quickly my inner terrain and who I think I am and what I'm all about is changing super, super, super fast.
Yeah.
I forgot where I was going with all that.
Well, one of the things that when you were saying that jumped out at me, I feel like oftentimes when people hear the phrase, begin with the end in mind, right? So that's a good comment. I think it was Wayne Dyer.
Okay, yes.
I'm not certain, but I think so.
I think you're right, yeah.
So when we're talking about, focus on the big outcome, let's see if I can get this. What did you call it, Lisa? Sheila?
The big honking outcome.
Yeah, I don't know
or
if it'll
the
get
honking big outcome. I don't know.
Well, I thought I had it queued up, but it's not good. Anyways, it'll probably go off in a minute. So you focus on the big outcome, and a lot of people think, okay, well, the big outcome for them might be, getting unfettered access, or it might be that they don't have to go to work, or that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And what's interesting is so for just a nanosecond, if that's their big outcome, they're there. But immediately their linearizing smarminess comes in and says, well, if I'm not working, then nobody else is working, then who's going to pick out the trash and this and that? But that's not focusing on the big outcome anymore. That's going backwards in big honking outcome.
That's the big honking.
I knew it was going to be a honk. The big honking outcome.
Yeah. So you're not in the big honking. You're still trying to push the button on the steering wheel to honk it. So you've kind of gone backwards. So if you're focusing on the big outcome, so let's pick one, Lisa, and we'll play with it, and then we'll do the same with Sheila so that we can kind of get into specifics. What's the big outcome that you would be focusing on?
I go really big. The systems of limitation have been exposed for what they are, and conversations are beginning to flood the airwaves of excitement of where do we go from here together.
Okay, so great. So what's if you say the big outcome is that everything's been being or been, are we at a being or been?
Well, I like the been because I don't really care about how it goes. I'm not attached to any of that. I'm attached to building something new.
Okay, so if we'll use the word then been, everything has been revealed, right?
Yes. Yes.
Is there anything that comes, so if you were to start describing that or thinking about it, or any questions that want to come up in you, just don't edit it, just what's the first question or thing you might, logistics, however you're going to phrase it, that might come up with that. Throw it out.
Well, what does that look like?
Okay, next one.
how will we live?
Okay, next one.
How will we trade?
Okay, next one.
How will we support ourselves? What does the world look like? What does my world look like?
Okay, and do you anyone's phrase, you're doing great, you're actually not giving me a very good example though.
Sorry.
That's no.
I'm really good at this game.
I'd rather have you be on the side you're at. So maybe that is the example. But are there any roadblocks, stumbling blocks, but we gotta blocks in there that just come up?
Yeah, okay, so, well, these are things I've heard when I try to play this game with others.
Okay.
Well, okay, so who's gonna, take care of the garbage? Who's gonna do all the crappy jobs nobody wants to have?
The garbage is a big one.
It really is, yes. That and, like, emergency services, they're right up there, too, the police and the medical.
The garbage is a big one. Like people are making garbage everywhere. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It just, I've been having this conversation for, I don't know, many years, and garbage always seems to be one.
It's at the top of the list. Who's going to take out the garbage? Nobody wants to do
that ought
this.
to tell you something. We should, be a little bit more thoughtful about. But anyway.
About how much garbage we're creating? Yeah, that might be a good idea.
Garbage is a huge problem.
So the thought about the garbage, the thought about this, does that seem to fit in with the same flow and feeling and energetic frequency vibrational neighborhood with what you had stated, as a placeholder, what you had stated as that everything has been revealed?
Right.
So worrying about the garbage or something else, are they in the same energetic frequency neighborhood?
No.
Okay. All right. So we'll leave that for a minute. So Sheila, what would you say is, put a shape on the big honking outcome for you? I'm sorry. It's been one of those days.
No, I think it's lovely. Do not apologize. I'm having fun. Well, I know when I'm doing my thinking about the big outcome, me personally. Okay, so my first call with you, before we ever did, when we were doing the quantum playground, my very first one. When we talked about, I believe we talked about this then, actually.
We keep coming around to it.
And I remember then my issue was, almost verbatim, word for word to you, was I always jumped to the fantastical.
Right.
But I have to be honest with you, I'm staying there.
Okay.
When I think about it.
So
I'm not concerned about the garbage, because by the time I get there,
right,
I'm going to be able to handle that crap somehow.
Okay, so just play for a minute the way we did with Lisa. So just kind of give me a little bit of a placeholder for what that outcome is. Is it just playing in the fantastical?
Well, no. I just by my pure magic, I have, I'm building that community that I envisioned. That's my big outcome. I am living in this community with these wonderful beings that want to participate in doing whatever it is that makes their hearts sing.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there for a second, just so I can, again, where we had the bin and being, right? So you're living there already, other beings are there already, and now you're in the flow and expanding. Is that kind of a hold for the, okay.
Yes.
All right, so then, same thing that we did with Lisa. So then play with me for a minute. What are the things that come to mind? Just quick. Using that, so it's already there, and we're living and we're expanding. So what are questions, thoughts that come up around to explain that, to discuss that?
Well, it used to. I don't indulge in the what. Well, how are we going to do that anymore?
Good.
I don't do that anymore at all.
So what do you do?
I don't know. I'm just envisioning that it is whatever I desire, absent limits, to be quite honest.
Okay. So you might be
That's
actually walking through an actual scene in an actual conversation, or I know you said you'd have chickens, so maybe are you in the chicken shed, or maybe you're setting up in your studio, in the studio for a recording, or right. So is that the kind of thing?
yes, absolutely. The most, to be quite honest, although I don't know why, I see a lot of when I go there and I'm playing, there's a lot of folks hanging around in the kitchen area. We're making chocolate and playing, and I mean that's just the energy that I am experiencing when I'm there.
Okay, great. And so then either from yourself or that you may be hearing, maybe there's certain energies beings, energies that want to come in are already there, but are you hearing, because you've already told us that you don't go in the garbage. Where's the garbage? Who's going to take care of the garbage route anymore? So, but if you hear any, what are kind of the ones that come up?
Well, like I said, it used to be, where you're going to get the money for the land, how are you going to get to where the land is, where you want to be, where is that going to be, all those logistical things that really now I see as not being, I don't know, I'm
They're not in the same
don't want to be
neighborhood.
attached to it, in other words.
Yeah, and they're not in the same neighborhood.
No. So I don't
And
even
each
think about
neighborhood has an energy frequency. So if, it's kind of like, I can't wait to, so I'm in that, well, where's the money going to come? Or how do I find that, right?
Right. Yeah, since we had that conversation, I don't allow myself to do that anymore. Period. End of story.
Whee! You put a stop to that?
Yeah, I put a stop to that completely. Now I can
previous video.
Yeah, now I'll just be frustrated at what is in the moment, or I'm dreaming about what I'm going to be doing, and none of this crap plays into this over here.
Cool.
Whatsoever.
That's huge. So both of you have really given great examples of jumping to, the big honking outcome, and it can be different, and you can have, the complete infinite whole enchilada. You can have, this focus here and this, and those are all big as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you're playing with that, remember how we started the conversation? So as each person expands and each person plays, and so there may be like a demarcation line or a notation or kind of a placeholder event that you might then look at. Well, wow, I had all these body pains and I noticed something is there. So that might be, or I've been so sleepy for the last week, or so there's different ways. Well, like Sheila had that, she was acid tripping and watching paint dry, and so they're different for everybody, and there are similarities and there are vast differences. But again, to this is kind of what this whole playing right here in this energetic envelope is, that as you go through each of those, you change. All of you changes, which changes all. So Sheila, when you had said that you stop, getting caught in that eddy of I can't wait to, that changed dramatically within for about you in your vibrational frequency neighborhood, and then your kind of launching point, podium standpoint, however you want to phrase it, for keeping expanding from there. And when you're visualizing or when you're putting yourself there or whatever you're doing, right? So that's changes. But here's a note to self, all the selves. So we are that singularity, but we are one. We are connected. So we are all. So we have actually, you have actually, Sheila, in this particular with you, you have changed everything. You have changed the morphogenic field of that. So, and this is kind of as a side note, programming note tie-in, when people say, well, I don't know what my mission is, or I'm kind of frustrated because I don't know what I'm supposed to do, and I want to be doing something, and I want to be, hello, I just showed you that what you're doing is huge. And yes, there may be other specific things that are more, with more specificity and particularity that you did agree to, and so great, you'll get them. Right? They'll unfold for you in the right moment for you as you catch up to yourself and so on and so forth. But this is really important to grok, to feel, to hold, to play in, to swim in, to embrace, to celebrate, to really appreciate, honor, love yourself for, and all the other selves that you look around and connect with for, because it's huge. It changes everything.
It does, but I will say, BC, okay. So I think now, not at this moment of right now, knowing, April 27th, 2018, most of the folks that will see this video the moment we put it out are already, they if they haven't fully grokked the fact that they are singular and the all, they're very close to it, or they're having some sort of cognitive dissonance. But most of those folks that will see this right away have pretty much got that concept.
Yeah.
The ones that, because it really wasn't until, I don't know, just the last few years, really, that I started getting this concept myself. And so when one first hears this, because of the conditioning and the programming, the snow job that's been done on us all, the tendency to continue to think that they're not connected to the all, or that they're not something, other than this meat suit that, once it's over, it's over. Or, like me, before I actually started figuring out what this, ascension process was, I thought ascension was, pretty much going to happen after I died. It was going to be the next step or the next rung up. So a lot of, for me personally, this is new concepts, but the more of us that really I feel, for me, I've noticed for myself, the more I take it in for myself, this kind of goes to that it changes the all thing. The more I take it into myself and know that I am singular and all, I'm kind of seeing that others, most specifically for me personally, some others in my field that aren't where we are in feeling into this, and may actually never be specifically, but I'm noticing that the concept is still there, and it's not percolated to the point where it will, because I feel like, as you're saying, because we are all connected. So the more of us that look around and really kind of take that in and really know it for ourselves, it is that I really feel like that is what's happening. You hear a lot of people talk about the 100th monkey effect. Well, it's bigger than that, but
yeah,
it doesn't take the 100th monkey. No. It is the all.
Right.
So it's just
because it's not happening in a vacuum.
No.
And nobody's missing anything. So a lot of people, I think, so many people have said recently that, I've been saying it for years because I've just felt it, just had a knowing of it, that people are more awake than they'll let on, but they're afraid or don't know how, or they're worried about people thinking they're nuts. Well, I gave up worrying about that, I don't know, 40 some odd years ago. if I ever, worried all that much about it. And so do they trust themselves enough to play in that? So in other words, they are feeling this in different ways. It's whether they'll give voice to it or not.
Right.
Right.
And there are revelations. There's someone, I don't have permission to name names or anything, but there was a being, and the being's son, and they'd been having conversations, and the son is, not a kid, and although young, and would roll his eyes at the being, and then came into contact with the parent being the other day and said, I need to apologize because I was at work and someone else was just casually having a coworker was casually having a conversation, about the slave bases, on the different planets, and and this offspring being's mouth dropped and thought, but, and so then came to apologize and said, I want to know everything because clearly I'm the one who's been, these are my words now. I'm the one who's been out to lunch,
right.
Nut job and not paying attention. Could I please? So, but that's happening more and more and more and more and more.
So then for me, the takeaway is that the more of us that, like I said, the ones that will hear this video almost immediately upon putting it out, or the ones that have subscribed to my channel, to your channel, BZ, these folks know the deal. So focusing on that helps to bring it into fruition.
Yes. And honoring yourself for that as well. So I guess that's
a big one.
There's a kind of a core nut in that. So maybe it's a smarmy nut you got to crack or something. Or you got to honk the horn louder or something. But that core nut is that, well, it's beyond the fact that you are magnificent, kick-ass creator beings. And it's that as you do what you do in very tiny supposed ways, because you slept all day, or you've had a week and a half now of everything hurts, and you're not sure how you're going to get through it, kind of a thing, to whatever it is. But all of that changes all sorts of things and within you, which then changes everything, which it's leapfrogging us down the road, and it goes, so to get back to more linear representations of it, why do you think that we're seeing North Korea and South Korea planting a tree today on what was the formerly known as a demilitarized zone line? So half the tree is on one, half the tree is over there, right? Why do you think that? Just because now was the time to do it? No. And is it because, well, on one perspective, I guess could be, is it because, the deep state and Illuminati being taken down and the puppets behind that whole thing are being pulled out and that's all dismantled. Yeah, on one perspective, that's it. But the biggest perspective is that because each one of us has been leaping and doing those things, whether we know it or not, whether we understand it or not, whether we realize the intricacies of it or not, we've all done that. We've all made that possible to pull it into physicality.
And I feel, now this is my personal perspective on it, what I saw in that too was a 3D representation of the metaphor for unification, period. They're calling this reunification. And that is what we're doing. Yeah. That is what's happening here. And so, exactly. So for me, when I saw that, I was like, I mean, yes, I'm aware of the deep state, all of that. And yes, all of that is true. And that is one of the multidimensional layers of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just one perspective. Yeah.
Right. But for me, that more expanded step back view, which I'm now really being able to see thanks to hanging out with my gal pals here and all this expansion that I've been, having. That was such a perfect metaphor and, something that Karm, the Empress of Time, talks about. That is a manifestation of, in the mirror games, as she puts it, as to what's happening in here.
Mm-hmm.
Let's call it what it is here. This is the big thing, right? And to see it in less than that multidimensional way, it does a disservice to us all.
Right. And it's also another example, see the previous video we just made about everything's connected and all that. And
mm-hmm.
I referenced the conversation I had with Heather today. But it's yet another, and they're all over the place. I mean, I find myself just laughing out loud all the time. I could be looking at something or just I can feel them, hear them. It's Source's humor, the Source's humorous irony of the different things. And so, yeah, I mean, that's beautiful irony. And in the conversation that Heather and I talk about, and I pointed out, she talks about that Lloyd gave her this box she had to move it. It's a banker's box to put all our paperwork in. And I'm busting out, got laughing, going, I love the cosmic irony that, your elbow just happened to give you a banker's box to. So they're everywhere. They just go on and on and on. And when you notice them, because it's really not an if, because this conversation will help you notice them. When you notice them, you too will bust out a gut laughing, and you will make another quantum jump, and you will transmit that out, and you will change all, because another way to phrase it, you'll see more dots illuminate for you. You'll connect all those things. You'll realize that everything is woven together in the warp and weave of this beautiful fabric that we are and we create.
Oh, how beautiful.
Yeah, I know, right?
And that's why the outcome play in that neighborhood, because whatever it is for each being, and or whatever piece, you can have the broadest focus or a little narrower, right? But it sits in a neighborhood, an energetic vibrational frequency neighborhood. So play with all of the stuff in that neighborhood and let go of the linear propensity to reach back in an old neighborhood and bring the garbage forward. Metaphorically, literally.
And I would add to that for myself, at first, when I first started, imagining, because make no mistake, for me, it's all about, and this year, of course, being the year of the imagination, so it's a really big theme this year. But when I first started doing that, it's a programmed and conditioned thing to start, because when my mind goes and goes and goes, and it goes, okay, yeah, but then you got to do this, and it took a while for me. I'm going to be very candid here. It took a little while, but now I jump right into not even worrying about that.
Mm-hmm.
Now that doesn't mean that I'm living there constantly, because yes, I still have rent to pay, and I just had 2 days of my landlord over up in here trying to figure out some of these leaks we got going on up in here. And so, yeah, that kind of stuff does intrude, but that's not where I live most of the time now. I live most of the time in, my imagination, creating that outcome, the one that I prefer. And
Right.
I'm not attaching to how I'm going to get there.
Right.
Now that's from all the, the big manifestors that talk about, you don't think about how it's going to come. You just trust that it's coming. If it's meant for you to have, it'll be there.
Right.
And you don't have to be attached. And I think but I had a really hard time with that. So that's why I'm bringing that up. It's okay. Just keep saying, okay, well, I appreciate you showing up and saying your piece, and now we've considered that, and now you're done. Be done. Move along. And it's okay to do that in your mind. Shuffle that little. Okay, I don't know. That's not a smarmy. We'll just call him Marmy. I don't know. Just shove him out of the way. Kick him out the door.
Can I throw in a little quick tool since you mentioned the landlord? And
yes.
Okay. So because it's the now moment, you can actually walk through script and have that conversation with, let's say in this example, the landlord, right? In the moment before you actually have it, and then you walk through that scene again. So each scene, each moment you could look at it as a scene way. I'm trying to think of ways that can give people metaphors to help them understand it.
Okay.
And the energy frequency that you hold while you're doing that is more important than, if you think of it really in a linear way, than the language that you're scripting. Okay, so for an example, years ago, this just pops into my head when you were saying that, but years ago, I don't know, 15 years anyways, I was living out in Austin, Texas, and I had moved from one housing, was an apartment thing, to another property. And there was a big refund that was supposed to come to me, and they were holding it up for some reason. It was a fairly good chunk of money. And so at first part of me, smarmy, said, oh my God, we need that money, and need. And I said, well, hang on, because that's not going to get us anywhere near where we went. So, but what we did in that, just as a tool, was we put a bubble. I knew the person that I was going to speak to. And before I even dialed the phone or anything, I just saw them in a bubble of love and was gratitude for who they were, what they were doing. Sometimes that their job was uncomfortable or annoying because they either had to say something that they didn't want to, or lay the law down, or they had to deal with people who were irate or whatever it was. And so much appreciation. And then setting that energetic frequency tone, and then scripting the conversation and the feel of it, the outcome of it, called this person up, and before I'd actually done this, I'd had one or two little things by email and one short phone call. Not receptive at all. Well, the likelihood of you getting that money is slim to none because of blah, 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 blah. So instead of playing in that neighborhood, I went to this new neighborhood and did it. And, well, thank you very much for calling. I can see, you've got this lined out. I wasn't aware of that. That's perfect. I'll be cutting the check and we'll go out today and you should receive it in 3 days. So it was better than I had deigned to script the thing, And I absolutely know that it went that way because I created it that way. And there were, the part of the smart me had to entertain playing with another way, had created it, because remember we talked about the quantum different reality times, was in another way, and it was, nowhere near what Smarmy wanted, or maybe exactly what Smarmy had said, well, it's not going to happen. So I just want to interject that because you brought that up, but that we are so powerful and so joyful and so playful and so expansive and so beautiful and so delicious that if we can, well, let it all, it will be great. But even if just for a moment, just a whiff, just a whisper, just a shimmer on the air, that you meet that part of you from it, it will change everything. So play with it.
Yeah, I need to do more of that because it's habit. Some of that is habit. I had a very similar experience that you just described today, and I guess I'm not used to taking that moment, feel into what I want to experience, and just know that it will, I just didn't. I just willy-nilly, not thinking, went in and, I was returning something and, fiasco there. But I mean, but no, I didn't take that time to do something like that. So that's a very good tool. Thank you for sharing that again. I've got, I finally got myself trained on the visualization thing to let the voice in the head, the naysayer in the head go for those things, but I didn't even think of this. So that's it. Thank you for that tool.
And you labeled it as, what did you label it as?
Which one?
This, what you were just talking about? You didn't stop. So I guess it's a
habit.
Stop it.
Yeah. Okay, tell me that'll be $5 and then we're
$5.
Yes, I owe BZ lots of money.
Lisa's
and Lisa too. Well,
Lisa's piggy bank from Sheila is the size of several planets.
Too true, but not. In all fairness, I tell her to
It's
stop
all
it.
fun. What?
I said, in all fairness, I tell you to stop it on occasion.
Yes, you do. Yes, we help each other. It's good.
See you next video.
I think I'm going to need a refill on my wine. I'm just saying. So yes, there will be a third video. Stay tuned for that. So thank you for that, though, BZ. That's an excellent tool that I know, but it's that habit. So yeah.
And one other thing I'll add to that, you had said, I wish you could back up. You had said, I think the phrasing was what I want to experience or what I imagine experience. What was it? Do you remember, Lisa or Sheila, what you said?
Generally, I say what I desire to experience going forward, but it could be want, it could be
right.
Yeah, any of those descriptive words, I guess I'm guilty of. Yeah.
So go step further and claim it, own it.
Okay.
This is the vibrational frequency I will experience. I am, I will, I create, I experience.
Ah.
I like that.
Yeah, okay. That's another habitual thing I've got to add in, because you're right.
Yeah.
A lot of these really are. And so they're okay, so I'm not going to be really I am becoming gentler on myself. I'm not going to beat myself up over, because eventually it will become a habit.
Yeah.
I'm yes, and I'm actually surprised at how much is I no longer have to actively try to remember to do. It just now is a newer habit. So I think as we, as I'll just keep it right here, continue to do that, it just feels like it's getting easier.
Yeah, and let me just call attention, because I'm hearing this is really important. What I just said a moment ago. So I will experience that vibrational frequency of that. I did not say, and this is important, those specific, I will experience those specific words that if you taking the scripted it literally, a linear way, it's the frequency of that. Because if you're too attached to specific things, and the attachment is egoic, it's lower mind, it's linear, it's little tiny me. Oftentimes already, because of that, especially now in this moment, in these moments, it's not in the same frequency neighborhood as your soul, all of you. But I will experience that frequency, right?
Right.
That's what you're claiming. And the beauty of that is that it's a whole more robust, expansive, delicious neighborhood than you thought you were in before, if you were just going on attached to the linear things. Anyway,
right. Attached to that. Yeah. Okay. Well, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for specifying that.
Because we can't see all of it.
Right.
From that perspective, that space, because when we're attached, we're already small again, right?
Yep.
And so we're not going to give ourselves that, because we're not in playing that game anymore about here. And so since we can't see what's out here, we'll give ourselves, but that's in the frequency of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just sitting here thinking back to our first conversation in the quantum playground, where I said I jumped straight to the fantastical. Now I can see, but see, that's that frequency so in that first conversation, part of my issue was I had a judgment against myself for thinking that it was impossible to go from here to there. And I can clearly see now where no, it's A, not impossible, and B, I'm not even going to say possible or plausible, will be.
Yeah.
For me.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and that's a perfect example, right, of where you were in that frequency, but you were attached to, well, how the hell am I going to get there? So that part of the script you were not going to allow yourself to have, because you weren't ready to see all the way out here yet.
Right. Right.
I like to hold it as this or something better. Yeah, because I might not see what I need to see right now.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So, wow. Do either one of you have anything else you want to add to this before we close this energetic envelope?
Nope.
That's beautiful.
No? Well, I would love to hear.
There it is.
There it is. The Honking Big Outcome. Guess what? That's actually going to be the title. Focus on the Honking Big Outcome. That's.
I can't wait to see everybody walking around with Honking Big Outcome. I'm kind of curious. I just want to see everybody's Honking Big Outcome. I'm sorry.
I live for the Honking Big Outcome. Let me just say. So I would actually love to hear some comments too about, what are you imagining for your Honking Big Outcome?
Yeah.
Let's hear that. Let's hear about that. And don't come up with, well, we gotta have this and we gotta have that's not allowed. That's not allowed.
Trash is handled in the Honking Big Outcome. It's the new iteration of HBO.
That's right. I love it. Well, there's going to need to be one, so cheers.
Right? There's voids to fill, people.
See previous video. So just so everybody knows, there will be ways to contact these two lovely ladies in the show more section of this video, along with my email address and the Conscious Conversation Central Facebook page. And like I said, really for reals, man, put some comments in there. Let us know what you're envisioning.
Yeah, list your HBO channels right down there.
Yeah, there you go. Absolutely. So, yeah. Okay, so till next time.
Much love.